MVP. Goal swung, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb in the first. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down the line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field. Way back there. Shot again. Corey Seager does it again. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Wednesday night on what's almost the eve of the 2024 World Series. We're going to go through some Rangers offseason stuff with you today, our weekly podcast going through all things Texas Rangers. Appreciate all of y'all tuning in, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on the replay. Thank you for joining us. Of course, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas. And even though the Rangers season is over, we especially like to talk about the Rangers when it comes to the MLB offseason, which is going to be heating up here in a couple of weeks after the World Series comes to a close. I think MLB got the matchup they wanted. Did they not? Yankees, Dodgers. I got one of the two correct. I think if y'all remember, I had been on the Dodgers train, not as a fan, of course, but as a prediction. I've been saying the Dodgers were going to be there at the end of the line. Did not think that the Yankees would make it this far. They proved me wrong. My pick originally was Orioles and Dodgers. So 1 for 2, not terrible. But I think MLB has got to be pretty happy with what they got for a World Series matchup. You got classic East Coast, West Coast. You've got two huge market teams in the mix. And a lot of people, I think, a lot of casuals that'll be tuning in. I think MLB's got to be in heaven. Pretty much the exact opposite of what you got last year with the Rangers and Diamondbacks, right? We're going to get into a little World Series preview. I'm going to go through my predictions, and then we'll get into some of the Rangers stuff. But the World Series set for later on this week, and we're going to go through the Game 1 preview with you guys October 25th. So actually, Friday night is the first game, couple days away from the World Series here. I imagine, and was correct on that, Garrett Cole starting Game 1 against Jack Flaherty, who's had a bit of an up and down postseason. Jack Flaherty has. Look, you really do feel like in this matchup, it's very offensive heavy. I think that the pitching leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't think Garrett Cole has been particularly sharp in this postseason. He hasn't been bad, but I can't say Garrett Cole has been the Garrett Cole that we know from postseasons past. You know, the guy that nearly went undefeated for the Astros back in 2019, pitched against the Nationals in that World Series. I don't know if we've seen that Garrett Cole quite yet in this run. 3.31 ERA this postseason. Flaherty with the 7.04 ERA. I just feel like with both of these teams, you have got offense heavy, offense clearly the strong suit of each squad. Which team is going to get the clutch pitching performances from some of the unknown guys? I think that's what this World Series is going to come down to. And I think I'm going to have to stick with the guys that I predicted originally to be in this World Series. I'm going to stick with the Dodgers in this one. I think Dodgers win this one in 6. I'm going Dodgers in 6. We'll see. But I am very excited to watch this World Series. Really, any World Series I'm excited to watch. I definitely am not one of those fans where my team's not in it. I'm not that interested in either one of the teams. I'm always interested in the World Series. So I think it's going to be great. Can we get a 6-7 game series? That would be ideal. I'm always for more baseball. My pick is Dodgers in 6 with the home field advantage. I do think that is going to make a difference in this one. Dodgers, of course, are going to get the first 2 games at home. The last 2 games, game 6 and game 7, games 4, 5, 6 will be, or excuse me, 3, 4, 5 will be in the Bronx. And we'll be covering this World Series every Wednesday on the show. I don't know how that's going to break down, how many games are going to have passed by then, but we will talk World Series next Wednesday. 2 weeks from now, World Series should be wrapped up. I got to say, it does make me a little sad talking World Series, all y'all Rangers fans that are joining in right now. 1 year ago, my wife and I, we made the trip, game 1 of the World Series. We live out in Las Vegas. I'd never been to a World Series game before, ever. Obviously, the Rangers made it back in 2010, 2011, didn't make it to either one of those World Series, and had not been to any other World Series for any other teams' matchups. So first World Series game of my life, game 1, last year's World Series, and it had to be one of the best games. I think probably the best game I've ever seen in my life with the dramatics. Of course, most Rangers fans are going to remember the Corey Seager game-tying, top of the 9th home run with Leody Taveras on first base. And then the Adolis Garcia 11th inning blast to walk it off. It's crazy that was a year ago. In some ways, it does feel like a while with how this Rangers season went. It was not the ideal year for the Texas Rangers. And in the dog days of summer when the Rangers were struggling, it did feel at times that it was a lifetime ago since the Rangers won that first World Series. But I will say in some ways it feels like it was just yesterday. I can totally picture, feel, hear the crowd raucous, rocking when that Seager blast first went off the bat. You knew it was gone. I was sitting up top left, down the foul line, down the left field foul line, in foul territory, if you can picture that, Rangers fans. And you knew that ball was gone the second it left the bat. And just that feeling, the stadium was shaking, loudest I've probably ever heard a stadium. I'm going to cherish those moments forever. I see a couple of comments. Some of y'all got to go as well. That's great. Johnny says, took my son, freaking bucket list. Loved it. Totally agree. Look, you never know when a team is going to make it back to the World Series. It feels like, the Dodgers and Yankees and those kinds of squads are always going to be back. But the Rangers, look, you never know. With the smaller market teams, it's harder. And look, Dallas-Fort Worth is obviously a big area. There is money in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for sure. But I don't think many people consider the Rangers big market. So I always say small market. Maybe if you want to get typical, if you want to get technical, mid-market team. But I think Rangers, small market, you don't know when they're going to be back. So a year ago today, or ish, kind of close to it, the Rangers go to their 3rd World Series, win game 1, never really looked back, lost game 2, won game 3, game 4, game 5, and we're your 2023 World Series champions. Like I said, I'd be remiss to not bring it up as the World Series approaches on Friday night. Can't help but think back to those fond memories, and I sure hope the Rangers will be back next year. Aaron, if you're still around, totally agree. I'm ready for a Rangers repeat. I'm ready for them to at least get back to the playoffs. Can we get back to the playoffs? That's my thing at this point. Look, I'd be overjoyed with a 4th World Series appearance. Can we just get back to the playoffs? We're going to get there, and we're going to get into Rangers stuff here in a second. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. I know some of y'all are coming in a little bit after we started. We just previewed the World Series a little bit. Didn't get too in-depth or anything. This is a Rangers show after all, although y'all know I'm happy to talk pretty much anything MLB. But I do want to get into some Rangers stuff here, so we're going to get right to it. So first of all, let me go here. Natalie, what's going on? Natalie says, could Lowe be traded even if they spend? So I said this in a couple of other lives, but if we're talking about Nate Lowe, Rangers first baseman, might end up winning the Gold Glove. I think he's going to get edged out very slightly by Carlos Santana. But the metrics, the numbers, they're close. Nate Lowe may win back-to-back Gold Gloves. We'll see. I don't think there is a world where the Rangers trade Nate Lowe this offseason, and we kind of chronicled that. First of all, Nate Lowe is inexpensive. He's going to be about a $10 million hit next year. And when you look at production at first base in the AL, when you look at first base production across the league, Nate Lowe is not at the bottom of the barrel. And I know it felt like he had such a rough year. He had a crazy good September. But Nate Lowe did a recent interview with Kennedi Landry, one of the Rangers beat writers. We're going to go through that. Lowe absolutely admits that he got off to a slow start. It was not an ideal year for him. Of course, glad that he was able to turn it on a little bit late, but Nate Lowe recognizes that he did not do enough. And his slow start contributed to the Rangers' struggles in 2024. His quote was, when he was asked about the 2024 season, his exact quote, "A shrug, I guess. Meh." And that is what I would say for Nate Lowe. I don't feel like you walked away from this season with Nate Lowe feeling anything more than, it was all right. It was nice that he got things going in September, but it was too little too late at that point. It wasn't a great season for Nate. And we love Nate Lowe, don't we, Rangers fans? I mean, the Nate Lowe, the guy, let's be more specific. We don't love the slow start, the ice cold beginning of the season, but we love Nate Lowe, the guy, Nate Lowe, the teammate. Look, I do think, and I know some of y'all have forgotten about this perhaps, but Nate Lowe did not start the year healthy. Nate Lowe opened the 2024 season landing on the injured list. He had an oblique strain, I believe, and Nate Lowe did not have the same start to the season that he's had in seasons past. And I think we've seen how a lack of a good start, a consistent start, has proved troublesome for some players. You even look at Corey Seager, who was injured at the beginning of spring training, had surgery, missed all of spring training. His beginning of the year clock was thrown off, and Corey Seager got off to a very slow start in the month of April. He was not looking like himself at all. And I'm a big believer in the routine of spring training in the offseason. And I really do hope that Nate Lowe, Corey Seager, Jacob deGrom, Josh Young, all these guys that dealt with injuries, Evan Carter, I hope all these guys are able to go through a somewhat of a normal warm-up in February, in March, and really get on track to start the season and come out of the gate strong. So Nate Lowe, back to him, absolutely had an amazing 23. He won the Gold Glove Award. In 2022, you might remember Nate Lowe won Silver Slugger. So back-to-back years, Silver Slugger in 2022. In 23, he wins the Gold Glove and a World Series. Had a pretty good year. But Nate Lowe did not have a great 2024. That being said, I really don't think there's a lot of better options for the Rangers in terms of upgrading at first base. I look at some of the options down on the farm. I'm not convinced. I know Blaine Krim had a nice AAA season. I'm not convinced he's going to give you better than what Nate Lowe is going to give you. And Nate Lowe has been a fairly consistent player. You look at his numbers over the past 4 seasons, he's consistent. He's going to get you about 20 bombs, 70 to 80 RBI, and he's going to hit about 260 to 275 and play Gold Glove caliber defense. I don't think the Rangers are going to be able to find better than Nate Lowe at the price that they are currently going to be paying for him. You want to go get a Pete Alonso, you're going to be paying a lot of money. You're going to be overpaying for a Pete Alonso. I'd much rather go with Nate Lowe. Look, let's just for fun, and then we're going to move on from Nate. I think the Rangers are going to have him back, no doubt. But let's do a Nate Lowe versus Pete Alonso comparison just for fun, just to see like how much better are you really getting here if you did go get a Pete Alonso type. I think Pete's going to go back to the Mets. Just want to make that totally clear. I really do think he's going to end up going back there. I don't see a world where the Mets let him go, but maybe everybody's got their price, right? So we'll see. But I'm going to do a little comparison here on Baseball Reference while I'm going live with you guys. And let's just see how each of their 2024s stacked up. So just 2024 right here. So, and as you compare, Nate Lowe, this is pretty crazy. I didn't know this. I just am looking this up on the fly. Nate Lowe had a greater WAR than Pete Alonso. Nate Lowe's WAR in 2024, 2.7. Pete Alonso's 2.6. Look, war's not everything. I'm not a war apologist. There's nothing else that matters. War is the almighty, godly stat. That's not the page that I'm on. But it is crazy to consider that Nate Lowe had a greater WAR than Pete Alonso in 2024. I don't know if many people would believe that if you told them that right out the gate. But it is what it is. The numbers don't lie. Now, the only other stats that Nate surpassed Pete in, batting average, Pete hit 240, Nate hit 265. OBP, Nate hit was 361 OBP, Pete was 329. Nate had less hits by about, looks like 17 less hits, 18 less homers, and about 18, 19 less RBI. So, look, here's what I think with Nate Lowe. You're getting him for $10 million. Pete Alonso's probably going to command 20 plus. How much better of a player are you really getting going from a guy like Nate Lowe to Pete Alonso? Nate's glove, I'm assuming, is probably what puts him a little bit ahead of Pete in the WAR department. I think the Rangers are going to be sticking with Nate Lowe. I'm going to go back to comments here in just a second. Let me try and catch up. By the way, appreciate the follow. See a couple of y'all following. Already said Dodgers. That's my prediction. I said Dodgers were going to make it to the World Series. Didn't have the Yanks going. I said Dodgers, Orioles. So I said I'm sticking with my original pick. I'm going to go Dodgers in 6. Let's see. You think they make it back in the upcoming years? Yeah, I do. I do think that the Rangers are going to make it back to the playoffs next year. It's a 3 wild card playoff race. I think your chances of making it are a lot better than when it was just 2 wild cards squaring off in the winner take all game, or of course back in the early 2000s, 90s when they just had the 1 wild card. There's 3 wild card places. Like, I think the Rangers, when you look at the roster, they have got a lot of potential. Can they get some bounce back from some of the mainstays? That's going to be the big question. Can Adolis Garcia just be even 15 to 20% better in 2025? Can we get Nate Lowe just 15 to 20% better? We don't need total overhauls here. We just need some of these guys to not be god-awful, because that is what some of these Rangers players were in 2024. Very bad. So I think you look at the lineup, you look at the pitching, the Rangers have talent. Can they put it all together? Can they stay healthy? Can they make some good acquisitions in free agency? That's yet to be determined. But if you had to pin me down right now, if I had to bet on this, are the Rangers going to make it back to October in 2025? I say yes. I would be very surprised if they have the same type of season. I think they've got a very, very competitive president of baseball operations in Chris Young. I do not think CY wants to have another year like this one. I'm not saying he's going to be spending big time bucks. In fact, all the reports point to the Rangers trying to cut back a little bit. But I do think that the Rangers have a lot to be excited about. You got Wyatt Langford coming up. He had a great ending to the 2024 campaign. I think he's going to get better in 25. You can assume Evan Carter probably going to be better than what he was giving you in the 2024 season. Fully healthy. Josh Young, full year for him. Those are 3 huge bats. Josh Young, Wyatt Langford, and then Evan Carter. You get those 3 guys right. Those guys are very dangerous hitters when they are healthy, when they are in a groove. And then you've got, of course, Corey Seager. You've got Marcus Simeon. I think Marcus Simeon is going to have a bounce back year as well. I cannot see Marcus being, I don't want to say as bad as he was, but I can't see Marcus having the same down year. And by his standards, I do think it was a down year for Marcus Simeon. He had a great year defensively. I think he's going to end up being the runner-up for the Gold Glove at second base in the AL. But I really do feel like the Rangers cannot be as bad as they were in 2024 and 2025. You got all the guys healthy. You had crazy regression from some key players. We haven't even brought up Jonah Heim's name. I mean, Jonah Heim was the worst offensive player. I wish I was kidding. This is not hyperbole. Jonah Heim was the worst offensive player in Major League Baseball in 2024. Stats back that up. It's sad to say out loud, but it's true. I don't think you're going to get that from Jonah Heim again next year. I don't think Adolis is going to be as down as he was this past year. I think you're going to get some bounce back. You're going to get some guys healthy, and I think the Rangers will return to October in 2025. Let me keep going here. I'm going to keep scrolling through, and then I'm going to come back to YouTube here. Rangers small market in regards to popularity, people tuning in, ratings. I don't think anybody is going out of their way, casual fan-wise, as evidenced by the ratings in the last World Series. I don't think a lot of casuals are going out of their way to watch a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series. I mean, look, if the Rangers were playing the Phillies, I'm sure it would have gotten a better number in the World Series. If the Rangers were playing the Dodgers, it would have gotten a pretty decent number. But small market in regards to they're not drawing big ratings. And look, yes, the payroll 8th in Major League Baseball, sure. Like, I don't know if I would say, though, that determines whether it's a small market or a big market. That has a lot to do with ownership in the front office. Is the owner willing to spend money? So in this case, is Davis, the Rangers owner, willing to maybe potentially come out of his pocket a little bit with the TV situation a little bit in flux? You've got some owners in Major League Baseball, wealthy. Look at Steve Cohen of the Mets, willing to put in his own money, regardless of the money that's coming in. I don't think that necessarily makes the Rangers a big market team just because they have the 8th highest payroll. I think market has to do with popularity, visibility, TV ratings, things of that nature. So let me clarify there. Bats are waking up next season. Agree. Anything on Kirby Yates? Corey, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Nothing on Kirby Yates that I've read. And I really do try and stay pretty up to date with all the Rangers beat writers, following them on X, of course, reading their articles when they come out. So I got to give credit. Most of my information comes directly from them. I have not heard really anything on the Kirby Yates front. Kirby Yates is going to command probably over, or at least I would say $9 to $10 million. The Rangers are looking to spend around $25 million in additions this year. You do the math on that one. We kind of did the math, and it's just not adding up. If you want to re-sign Evo, Nate Eovaldi, Nate is going to probably command 20. So the writing is kind of on the wall here, guys, and it makes me sad to really think about, but I don't know how confident I feel that Nate Eovaldi is going to be back. I think that needs to be priority number one. But as you hear some of these numbers, 25 million, you've got the Rangers only 25, but Evo probably going to command at least 20 million on the open market. Like, the Rangers would have to get creative. Like, you would have to potentially trade maybe a John Gray. I think John Gray's making over 10 million next year. So John Gray, I think, could be a guy maybe you look to deal to shed a little salary. But I really don't know if Evo is going to be in the cards, because you got to take care of the bullpen. Right? Do you want to re-sign a David Robertson? He's going to be about 9 or 10 million too. You're not going to be able to do both Robertson and Yates. And in fact, I don't know if you want to do both of those guys. You kind of have to decide as an organization, Were those fluke years, or were they actual legit years that are going to be repeated? Is Kirby Yates going to go 34 for 35 again and save opportunities? Is David Robertson going to hold 35 plus games and have a sub 4 ERA? Those are things you don't know. And those guys are getting up there. I don't think the Rangers are going to keep both. I think they might try and keep one or the other. But then again, where does that leave you with Evo? If you sign David Robertson or Kirby Yates for 10 million, now you're down to about 15 million. That's not enough for Nate Eovaldi. You're going to have to shed salary somewhere to make that happen. Somebody said, can't wait for the Nate Eovaldi to the Mets announcement. Look, I don't know where Nate's head is at. We joked, is that the right word? I think we lamented Evo potentially staying in Texas and signing with that other team, that lesser team down south in Houston. But I really don't want to think about Evo doing that to Rangers and Rangers fans. But you know what? Money talks. The location, Evo, of course, being a Texas boy, that talks. I don't know if it's totally out of left field. I think it could happen. I would hate for it to happen, but I do hope the Rangers can find some kind of creative way to bring Evo back. They did talk about Evan Grant, came out with an article today. He was taking some different fan questions. Evan Grant, Dallas Morning News, Rangers beat writer. And somebody asked him about Evo. And what he essentially said is he thinks it's less than a 50% chance that Evo comes back, first of all. He also said the probably most creative way to get Evo to stay would be to do the deferred money. You know, of course, Ohtani kind of making that a hot option with what he did with his contract with the Dodgers. However, Davis, the owner of the Rangers, has been a little bit hesitant to do the deferred money in contracts. Like David Robertson actually had a little bit of deferred money in his contract. And that was kind of a big deal because Davis had really not been up for doing those types of contracts in the past. So, look, could they get creative, maybe defer some money? And Evo open to that, obviously, willing to take a deal like that. That's the kind of creative stuff you're going to have to do if you want to keep Nate Eovaldi. Maybe trade a John Gray to shed some salary, and then perhaps see if Evo's willing to do deferred money. The math is not adding up great, though, for the Rangers to keep him unless they make some, what I would say, aggressive moves to try and free up the space to keep him around. Let me keep on going here. Evan Carter revenge season. That would be great. I would love that. Evan Carter revenge season, 100%. I would love to see that. Look, he can't be worse. He went 0 for 18, Evan Carter did, before going on the injured list. I don't know if you can get worse than that. I really don't. Leody Taveras, I want to bring that up too. David, what's up if you're still tuned in, by the way? Look, I'm not a big Leody fan in terms of keeping him around. Do I like seeing Leody do well? 100%. Has Leody had some great moments with the Rangers? Yes. Are they consistent? No. Leody might give you a week of hot baseball and then 3 weeks of totally cold. How is this guy a major league hitter baseball? So for me, I would like to see the Rangers move on from him, but CY pretty much all but confirmed that Leody is in the plans for next year. In fact, one of the things he mentioned for improving was Leody Taveras has got to take the next step. So I don't know why you would bring that up or say that if you're Chris Young, if Leody's not going to be around next year. Like if he was thinking about trading Leody, I don't know why in the exit interviews he would have even brought him up. Like you might have said something like, yeah, Leody did not have the year we expected him to. You know, we'll see what happens. Like maybe leave it vague. But for CY to totally come out and say, Leody's got to take that next step for us next season, I just can't see us getting rid of him. Let me keep going here. Appreciate all the follows, by the way. Thank you. I see some of y'all following that are watching live. Really appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Yeah, Tommy, I think you're right. I don't think the Rangers brass is going to let Nate go. He's too much of a bargain right now. You got the Gold Glove factor. He won the Silver Slugger 2 years ago. I mean, it seems crazy. Nate Lowe was your Silver Slugger winner in 2022 at first base. But that's a big reason why I don't think the Rangers are going to get rid of him. And I don't think, like we kind of talked about with the Pete Alonso comp, are you really going to be getting that much of a better player for $10 million? I mean, you can overpay for Pete Alonso. And are you really going to get that much of a better first baseman? I would say no. So I think the move is to stick with Nate Lowe. World Series prediction, Dodgers in 6. What's up? What's up, guys? KC Sports, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. Garcia had a down year. I do think an offseason, clear the mind. Look, Garcia made a couple of adjustments at the end of the year. We kind of talked about this a few weeks ago, but there were some players on the Rangers this year, Garcia, one of them, that were a little bit unwilling. This is stuff that got reported by some of the Rangers beat writers, a little unwilling to take the advice and make changes. And I think that Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim, I think was the other one that got brought up, guys that were struggling but a little hesitant to make adjustments. And I really do hope that you have those guys in the lab willing to listen, willing to make adjustments in their swing and stick with it and trust the process. Dolly, I don't think, is going to have as bad of a year as he did this past year. However, you look at Dolly's numbers. Evan Grant brought this up in his article that I read today. I think the Rangers are going to potentially consider sitting Adolis Garcia against some high-velocity right-handed pitchers. Dolly struggled mightily against hard-throwing righties in 2024. There was a pretty big trend. Adolis Garcia is not the best fastball hitter in general. The Rangers' two best fastball hitters, probably Josh Young and Evan Carter. Those were two guys that played like 5 games together in 2024. But Adolis Garcia is not a great fastball hitter, which sounds crazy to say for like any major league player, but the numbers are what they are. So Evan Grant did bring up potentially, don't be surprised if the Rangers bench Dolly against some hard-throwing righties. He hits the lefties pretty well. The softer throwing righties, we're talking low 90s, mid to low 90s, guys. I think you'll see him in the lineup against those guys, but you see some of the flamethrowers that are throwing 97, 98, that kind of thing. I think you're going to see Dolly getting some time off. We'll see. Let me keep going here. Deer Hunter, backup catcher upgrade, definitely needed. Look, I'd be plenty happy. I said this multiple times. I would be plenty happy if you just re-signed Carson Kelly. Look, Carson Kelly to me was a breath of fresh air offensively. I know anything was better than Jonah Heim in 2024, and I love Jonah Heim, but anything was better. Again, I want to reiterate, Jonah Heim was the worst offensive player in Major League Baseball in 2024, statistically speaking. And I think he passes the eye test on that too. It was not good. He had a few nice moments, no doubt, a couple of big home runs I can think about. But look, Jonah Heim did not have a good 2024. I do think the Rangers would be wise to go out, potentially trade for a catcher, an up-and-coming guy, or re-sign Carson Kelly. I don't know what Carson Kelly's market is going to be, but I would like to see the Rangers upgrade the position. I don't think Sam Huff is the answer. They've been moving Sam Huff up and down. Look, I think Sam Huff, for lack of a better expression, well, it's one we use on the show here a lot. I think Sam Huff is your quintessential quadruple A guy. He hits pretty decently down at triple A, and the dude just cannot figure it out in the major leagues. So for me, I think we've got to move on from Huff. I think you potentially go and trade for a young up-and-coming catcher in an organization. We're not talking top prospect. We're talking a guy that maybe is a little bit of a deep cut, but has solid potential offensively and has potential on the defensive side too. I think Jonah Heim has got to have somebody backing him up. I think he played a lot this year, and I think he wore down a little bit. I think that his increased workload without Mitch Garver was a lot for him to handle, and I think his play did suffer for it. Carson Kelly comes on the scene maybe a little bit too late. Heim already kind of in the downward spiral of the 2024 season. I think you come out with a good, solid, legitimate backup catcher in 2024. And then at that point, you start creating a system where you get Jonah Heim consistent rest. The body's not wearing down. The offense is not wearing down and falling and fading as well. Look, Jonah Heim's defense was such a strong suit in 2023. Jonah Heim won the Gold Glove, and he was one of the worst catchers in regards to managing the stolen base game. It just seemed like, too, the blocking was not as sharp as it was in 2023. For me, I do think a legitimate, solid backup catcher solves some of the problems that you saw with Jonah Heim and his regression in the 2024 season. But I'll keep going here on comments. Want to keep things rolling. Who am I rooting for? That's a really good question. Look, the Yankees have enough World Series championships, so I'm rooting for the Dodgers. I wish they both could lose, and I mean that. Look, with no disrespect intended for any fans of either team that are watching along. Look, I can't say the Dodgers or the Yankees register big time for me. I mean, look, the Yankees in the early 2010s when they had A-Rod, I felt like that was a bigger rivalry. The late 90s with the Rangers, Yankees were always knocking us out. Of late, I felt like the Yankees rivalry, that if you want to call it that, with the Rangers is kind of faded. The Astros is kind of front and center for me. So look, the Astros and the dislike takes front and center, total dominance for me. But I will say I'd much rather the Dodgers win. I don't want the Yankees getting close to 30 World Series championships. No, thank you on that one. Losing Natty Nate would crush me. I wouldn't like to see it either. I really would not like to see it either. I don't think the Rangers are going to be finding a lucrative TV deal. They are going to be most likely creating their own streaming platform. Bodie, appreciate the gift. Thank you so much, man. Means a lot. Thank you. Seager. Let's talk about Siegs. I think that Corey Seager actually had like a pretty decent year. It wasn't, I think, to the level that Corey Seager can perform. But you look at Corey Seager's numbers in the 2024 season, 5 WAR even, 30 homers, 278 batting average, 74 RBI. In Corey's defense, literally every home run that he hit for a period of time was a solo shot because the Rangers' offense was so bad that there was nobody on base ever when the guy would hit home runs. And I blame Marcus Semien a little bit for that. Like Marcus Semien hit like 230, had like a 300 OBP as a leadoff hitter. That's not going to be very good news for Corey Seager's RBI totals when the guy in front of you has a 230 batting average and a 300 OBP. So I do think that Corey Seager would have been much closer to 90, 95, maybe 100 RBI if the offense around him wasn't so putrid, and it was bad this year for the Rangers. So we say that Corey Seager had a down year. I don't know. I tend to kind of blame what was around him, guys not getting on base for him. I'm sure Corey Seager could be better. Maybe that batting average could be a little higher than the 278, but I think Corey Seager had a pretty solid year. Yeah, was injured at the beginning of spring training, got hurt towards the end of the year, but nevertheless, Corey Seager was not the problem in 2024. And I'm not saying that you were saying that in your comment there, but I do think 100% all the Rangers players, every bat in the lineup could improve slightly. Let me keep going here. We got some Dodgers people. Hey, look, I'll take the Dodgers. Look, I can't say I'm going to actively cheer for them, but maybe, you know what? It's funny. I always say I'm not going to be cheering for anybody, but then I get invested. I start watching the games because I love watching pretty much every World Series game, y'all. So I'll watch pretty much every game and I get invested. Like when it was Dodgers Rays, I went into that Dodgers Rays series 4 years ago in the COVID year thinking, whatever, I really don't care who wins. And then I found myself cheering for the Rays. Of course, the Dodgers ended up winning, but that's just how it goes. So I'm sure as the series goes on, I'm probably going to start cheering for the Dodgers. I think that they're going to win it. I've already said I think Dodgers in 6. That's my prediction. I do love Shohei Ohtani, big fan. Love Mookie Betts. Really, really like Freddie Freeman as well. They've got a lot of likable players. They just do. None of those guys are like Bush League, disrespectful, just like hateful guys that are easy to dislike. I mean, Mookie Betts, how do you dislike that guy? Shohei, same. Look, I know Shohei gets a ton of attention from MLB, kind of the favorite child, but I don't think that's his fault. I love watching the guy play. The swing is sweet. It's fun to watch him out there. So, look, I'm going Dodgers. I don't really particularly want either team to get another World Series ahead of the Rangers, but look, I'll take the Dodgers over the Yankees, 100%. Let me keep going here. Roger, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Seager had a good year for being hurt a few times. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Do I think Kirby Yates is going to come back? I would probably say no. I'm not sure if either Robertson or Yates is going to come back, to be completely honest with you. All right, let me go to my YouTube here. I know I've been neglecting you guys a little bit. Baseball Network, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you if you're still hanging out. Natalie says, I think I'd rather focus on depth in the outfield. I think Wyatt will continue to grow and hopefully at least one bounce back from Garcia and Carter. I agree. I don't think the Rangers are going to do a whole lot in the outfield. I don't think that they're going to be adding like a big time free agent. Would a Santander type be incredible? Yes, but again, when you go with the reported number, 25 million is what the Rangers are looking to spend this offseason in annual salary. You're not going to afford a Santander. So that's a pipe dream, I think, for us Rangers fans, for me especially. But I cannot see the Rangers adding a big bat. I think that they are going to hope they get a lot of bounce back from guys like Marcus Semien, Nate Lowe, maybe to a slight degree Corey Seager, but we're more talking about Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim. Get a healthy year from Josh Young. Get a healthy, productive year from Evan Carter. I think that the Rangers outfield is promising. I really hope that Wyatt, Evan, and Dolly can be the guys that take over, and Leote kind of becomes your bench or your depth in outfield. I really don't want to see the Rangers trot out Leote Taveras as your starting center fielder in 2025. I'd really like to see Wyatt, Evan, Dolly in the outfield, and then you have Leote spelling each one of those guys every 3-4 days, whatever the case may be. So it's not like Leote's not going to be getting any time, but I really would like to see them move away from Leote as an everyday guy. We'll see what happens. Keep going here. Rangers basically have 4 starting outfielders. We don't need all 4. I would have to agree. I don't think that the Rangers are going to need all the outfielders that they do have. And look, they've got some good players in the outfield down in the minor leagues. I mean, we've talked about some of the guys that they drafted. They've got some promising players coming up outfield-wise. You know, you saw Dustin Harris come up. We know Alejandro Osuna, AA guy, but was Rangers minor league player of the year. He's an outfielder. Of course, we saw Sandro Fabian come up. He didn't get a ton of time, really small sample size. Don't know if we can really judge him based on his time up with the club in September. But Alejandro Osuna, definitely a guy I think to keep your eye on in the minor leagues. Dustin Harris, look, I liked what I saw from him. I don't really know why the Rangers are continuing to trot Leote out there. If I could just be completely real, I would much rather them give Dustin Harris an opportunity. I would much rather them give a guy like Alejandro Osuna or Sandro Fabian an opportunity. I think we know what Leote is. He's about a 225 to 240 hitter at best. He's going to hit single-digit homers. He might steal 15 to 20 bags. And again, he's going to give you maybe 1 week of 300 and about 3 weeks of 200, maybe even 175 batting average. So I definitely think that the Rangers could go elsewhere beyond Leote, but Steve Y's words in the exit interviews, looks like Leote is going to be a part of the plans in 2025, unfortunately, for some of us Rangers fans. Let me keep going here. Jankowski has to stay. Look, I love El Blondie. Travis Jankowski. But I don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to have a place for him. They've already got so many outfielders. El Blondie is a great teammate, a hard-nosed ball player. He's a grinder out there. I love the way that he plays. I think he had a little bit of a down 2024. But then again, when you think about what roles he had to play throughout the season, he was a little bit, I think, out of his element. The Rangers asked him to be an almost everyday player at times. And Travis Jankowski, when they signed him, I think was always meant to be a pinch runner type, a defensive sub, an occasional spot start. Travis Jankowski was never meant to be an everyday guy, let alone be a DH, which Travis Jankowski was for us multiple games. Like for a week straight, I felt like they were trotting out Travis as the DH. That was just not the role that he was intended to play coming into this year. So even though the numbers don't look great for Janko, I still say you really have to take into consideration and contextualize he wasn't in a role that he was really supposed to be playing. He wasn't supposed to be everyday guy, and that's what he had to be as a result of injuries to Evan Carter and other Rangers players. I would rather keep Jankowski over Tavares. I totally agree. I'd rather have him over Leote. I would. You know what Travis Jankowski gives you is consistency in the field. You know that Travis Jankowski is going to make all the right plays in the outfield. You know that's going to happen. Who could forget the catch of the year? Like if that doesn't win catch of the year, Travis Jankowski robbing that would-be walk-off home run against the Chicago White Sox. I hope y'all remember that. Travis Jankowski robbing a would-be walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth against the Chicago White Sox. We're talking up on the wall, full extension. That has to be catch of the year. I mean, look, I would rather have a guy like that can play a solid defense, run the bases well when needed than Leote. I would. But I don't know what the Rangers are going to do. He absolutely would cost less, 100%. Alexander, appreciate the follow, man. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you for all the comments. Appreciate all you guys as well. Let me get to the rest of what I got here. We're going to wrap things up here pretty quickly. Look, fantasy reality when it comes to offseason trades. I know that we throw out trade scenarios a lot, and I think there are some realities we got to work with here. I don't think that there's going to be a big market for Adolis Garcia right now. I think Dolly, the down year, the injury at the end of last year, the contract, Adolis is going to be making close to $10 million next year. I don't think that there is a lot right now of want for Adolis Garcia around the league. I think the time to trade Dolly, which you were just never going to do, but the time to trade Adolis Garcia was at the end of last year after the World Series run, and you just weren't going to do that. You weren't going to gut, the ALCS MVP from the team. You were going to run it back all day long. So I don't think that it was ever an option last year, but that did just so happen to be last offseason, the peak time where you could get a lot of value out of Dolly right now. For anybody suggesting we should trade Adolis, you're just not going to get anything for him. I just don't think there's a lot of people that want Adolis Garcia right now. The down year did not help, and then the injury didn't help on top of it. I do think a guy like John Gray potentially could be a trade chip. He's a guy that's making over $10 million next year. You maybe want to trade some money away to make room for Evo. I think I could see something like that. I don't really think there's a whole lot of other immediate trades, though, that really are to be made that are on the big league club. I think maybe some minor league deals you could work out, and I don't even know where to begin, or I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert at concocting some of those trades that might happen to maybe get some good bullpen pieces, for example. But in terms of just the major league roster right now, I really don't think there are a lot of guys that are super tradable. Maybe a guy like Zeke Duran. I could see a Zeke Duran being a tradable piece. Right now, I feel like the Rangers have a little bit of a logjam. You've got Josh Smith, who's going to be super utility guy. Josh Smith is going to play that super utility role, probably get, around 400 at bats, maybe get 100 to 110 starts. Zeke Duran is basically the same type of player. And I think you probably like Josh Smith better at this point. So I think Zeke is probably a little bit expendable at this point. I would think maybe he could be a piece that you dangle out there to try and improve the bullpen. Leote might be another guy that maybe a team takes a flyer on. He's not that expensive. He does have potential. There are tools there. Maybe the Rangers can work something out. Again, using Duran, using Tavares as a chip to improve the bullpen. I don't think you're going to be able to improve the bullpen straight up through free agency. I think you're going to have to get creative with trades and inexpensive contracts. We'll see what happens. Roki Sasaki, I am not getting my hopes up for Roki. Would I love it? Do I hope the Rangers get him? 1,000,000 times yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I feel like one of the big market teams is going to swoop in and get the job done. The Rangers are kicking the can too much with this money situation. And there's going to be some teams that are willing to pay right now without having to get funky, creative. So look, would I love Roki? 100%. 100% I would love Roki, but I just don't think the Rangers are going to be able to pull it off. I hope to be wrong. Maybe he doesn't get posted this year. Armand, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate all the follows, by the way. Thank you, sir. I don't think Roki probably is going to end up with Texas. Maybe he doesn't get posted. I would love to see it happen, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I think if they're going to get a pitcher, it's going to be Evo in a 2 or 3 year deal situation. I don't think Roki is probably realistic unless Davis has a huge change of heart. I really don't think that the Rangers are going to be able to sign both Evo and Roki. That'd be a pretty big offseason. And again, the number is $25 million. That is how much the Rangers, at least reportedly, are wanting to spend. That goes quickly. $25 million. That is going to be out the window in a heartbeat after the World Series is over and some of these free agency deals start cooking. We have been linked to Blake Snell, and the other guy that was linked to us was Fried. And when I say linked, I'm talking about people have thrown out those names as good fits for the Rangers. I'm not saying that Max Fried or Blake Snell has come out and said, I want to pitch for Texas. I'm saying that there have been some significant MLB writers around the league that have matched Max Fried and have matched Blake Snell to the Rangers as this might be a good fit. And you know what? Maybe if Evo doesn't work out, you turn your attention to one of those guys. But I can imagine that Blake and Max and Corbin Burns, who I see somebody just brought up in the TikTok comments, those guys are going to want some money. Like if you are paying Evo, or it's projected that Evo is going to get 20 mil a year, what are those guys going to get? Like, I mean, they're going to be in the same situation where you're probably going to have to trade a John Gray who's making over 10 million next year in order to make something like that work. Let me keep going here. Appreciate that, Armand. Yeah. Hey, look, all fans welcome. We pretty much talk all MLB at some point. Of course, y'all see the team that I love to talk about the most. And of course, every Wednesday we do a little Rangers offseason show. That's what this is. We have some fun with the MLB postseason since that's going on right now too. So next week we'll go through the World Series. We'll talk about the games. We'll talk about the big moments, but we'll talk a lot of Rangers offseason too. But look, anybody that you want to talk about, any team that you want to talk about, I'm pretty much down at some point in the show. So throw it out there. We'll get to it. Let me go here. Roki would be international money, not fully from Davis' pocket. That's a good point. I do think that is how it works, just in short form. So, yeah, you have some international money to spend, and a lot of teams actually work out trades to get more international money. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that Roki deal done. I know CY went to Japan, did the scouting. So, look, I don't think you take a trip to Japan just because if you're Chris Young, you got a lot of things going on. So, clearly, there's some strong interest. Just don't know, though, if the Rangers' strong interest is going to outweigh the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and all the other strong interest that they're going to be getting. And when I'm saying there, I'm talking about Roki Sasaki's camp is going to be getting from around the league. Let me keep going here. I'm definitely going to be sad if Evo leaves as well. Yeah, that's going to be devastating. It's going to be a hard day. Do the Rangers shed payroll to spend more? I think that's what they're trying to do. And that's why we're bringing up John Gray, who was one of the Rangers starting pitchers this year, but did get relegated to the bullpen. John Gray is an expensive bullpen piece if you're not going to have him in the starting rotation. So, yes, I think that is going to happen. Somebody brought up Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning had an outstanding 2023. 3.75 ERA, had a winning record, won double-digit games. Pitched pretty well in down the stretch, I would say, and into the playoffs too, but kind of fell off the map last year. Dane did not have a great year. I would imagine he's going to start off as a long reliever in the bullpen. I think right now, starting rotation, assume Evo's coming back, and we can maybe play the game of if he doesn't come back, but obviously you've got DeGrom, you've got Evo, you've got Kumar Rocker, you've got Tyler Mahle, you've got Cody Bradford. There's 5 guys right there. Look, if Evo leaves, I think you maybe think about a guy like John Gray if you don't trade him. If Evo leaves, maybe it's Jack Leiter. I know Jack didn't really show a whole lot or prove a whole lot this last year, but those are the kinds of guys that I think might sub in. If you don't get Evo, do you go after an Andrew Heaney type? They brought up Andrew Heaney in the exit interviews as another guy that they were going to prioritize. So if you can't afford Evo, do you turn to Andrew Heaney just to get some depth at the back end of the bullpen? It's not like you need Andrew to be a number 2 guy behind Jacob deGrom. You don't need that. But do you need the depth? Yes, you do. And Andrew Heaney was the only Rangers pitcher that was healthy all season, in the starting rotation at least. So I would be a fan of something like that. I don't think Andrew Heaney is going to be crazy expensive. I do think he's going to want double digits based on the year that he had this year. And I think he'll probably be able to get it. So I think that is another interesting move potentially. Somebody also brought up, I forget who it was, somebody brought up Corey Seager moving to first base. I don't think that they're going to be doing that for a while. What's my thought? Dodgers making it to the World Series with only 3 pitchers in the bullpen. Look, I do think that there is an art to managing the pitching, and Bruce Bochy is so good at it, and it's why he won a lot of World Series with the Giants. And I think what Dave Roberts is doing with the 3 starters in the bullpen is pretty incredible. I do have a lot of respect for Dave Roberts. I know he's a little polarizing to Dodgers fans, but I like Dave Roberts. I'd be happy to have Dave as the manager of the Rangers if Bochy left. I think Dave is a very smart, baseball savvy guy. I think he's proven it through all of the good years that the Dodgers have had. And I don't think he's just a pawn or a cog. I don't think that he's just a body. I think he actually brings value. And I think that's evidenced by what he has done with the bullpen and what the Dodgers have had to piece together without a barrage of quality starters, right? You even really haven't gotten a whole lot out of guys like Walker Buehler. It's been pretty fun to watch him piece that together. if I'm being real, I know that this term might, get some people's ire, but you have to be a little fortunate, lucky, if you will. Look, baseball, it's definitely hard work, skill. I do think there is some good fortune and luck involved. And we know that is a part of the game. And I do think the Dodgers have had things go their way. They've had some fortunate, I think, breaks in some scenarios. Clearly, you make it all the way to the World Series, you deserve to be there. So don't take this the wrong way. But look, going off of a bullpen and guys that I would say are not like super well known dominant guys, I think at some point you do have to say, look, it's just all coming together at the right time. Could we keep this up forever? Probably not. It's kind of like the Rangers in 23, right? Were the Rangers dominant all season long in 23? No. Did they catch lightning in a bottle in the playoffs and totally earn their entire World Series run and ring? Yes. So that is how I feel about the Dodgers. I think their bullpen and their starters have gotten hot at just the right time. And that's all you need in October to win a championship. We'll keep going. We've got, Dunning. Could Dunning be a trade chip? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Evan Carter, I'm hoping, is going to be the center fielder. Roberts is the reason I have gray hairs. The man stresses me out in the postseason. Look, he's pushing all the right buttons this year. Would be ideal if Max comes back for cheap. I got to be honest. I love Max, the competitor. I got really tired of dealing with the injuries. And I know that it sounds like just totally like selfish, inconsiderate. Look, Max is a human being. He's a competitor. He's a family man. I love Max, the guy, but I got tired of the injuries and just the continual nagging things. If it wasn't the shoulder, it was something else. I would like to see them move on from Max. I don't think he's going to be back with the Rangers. Let me keep going here. Got to put yourself in the spot. Absolutely. I think that's really well said. So, like, again, I'm not taking anything away from the Dodgers. I know when you start throwing around the words luck and fortune, some people get really defensive. Don't take it the wrong way, Dodgers fans, if you're tuned in. Dodgers have a great squad, right? They have a great squad. It's why they're in the World Series. But along the way, and if you played sports at any level, you know this, you have to have some good fortune. Umpires' calls go your way, right? You have the ball bouncing just perfectly or whatever. You have the atom balls hit at 105 off the bat right at somebody, and that doesn't show up in the box score. That's my point, right? You don't have 110 mile an hour line drive right at the left fielder showing up in the box score. You got to have some good fortune. And the Dodgers are just piecing it all together. They've got a manager that's really hot right now in terms of making the right decisions, pushing all the right buttons, right? You've got guys that are clicking offensively, right? Max Muncy, my goodness, when you're getting however many straight times that he reached bases, that streak's still going on, by the way. Max Muncy, like it was like at 13 or 14 last time I checked. Like when you're getting that kind of performance out of a Max Muncy type, a guy who definitely can hit the long ball, but not necessarily a guy you think of as a prominent hitter in the Dodgers lineup. Right? That's the kind of special that you need to win a World Series. That's what the Rangers got last year. You need those guys to step up. Think about Kike Hernandez as well. Like that guy hitting the home runs that he's hit this postseason. You need those kinds of performances from the guys that are not necessarily the big dogs in the lineup in order to win it all. And then you need some of those bullpen guys like we've talked about getting hot, getting used in just the right situations. And I'm not surprised it's all coming together for them. Let me keep going here. Shohei, of course, Shohei's going to be Shohei. What I am interested to see is Shohei going to pitch in the World Series? Like the front office said, no way. Dave Roberts was kind of like, I could maybe see him being a closer. I don't think he said that exactly, but Dave basically said, I'm not ruling it out. Wouldn't that be insane to watch Shohei close out game 6, game 7 of the World Series and hit a home run while he's at it. That's the kind of stuff about Shohei and the Dodgers why I'm going to watch every game. It's going to be great baseball. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge as well. I'm excited. But keep things going here. Make sure I didn't miss any Rangers stuff. Carter comeback season. I sure hope so. Carter, 100%, man. I really hope that he bounces back. Like I said, you can't get much worse than going 0 for 18. And that is what Evan Carter went before he went on the injured list for the rest of the year. It was not good. Mitchell says on YouTube, Gray ain't worth it. Dane is a 5-starter. Yeah, Gray is not worth the $13 million he's going to get paid next year. I totally agree with that. That's why, Mitchell, I've said trade the guy. Free up some room so you can re-sign Nate Eovaldi. That would be my thing. Let me keep going here. Wrapping up the show here. We don't like injuries, of course. Yeah, of course not. Injuries are part of the game, but yeah, and they're unforeseeable. You don't know when they're going to happen. And some are freak injuries. Think about the Josh Young injury for us this year. Josh is having a great start, a great week to begin the season, hitting like 430, and then gets hit with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball high and tight on the wrist. You just can't foresee these things, unfortunately. I've already said Dodgers in 6 is my prediction. I feel like Dodgers in 7, Yankees in 7. Like 7 is always the prediction that everybody says. I'm going to say Dodgers in 6 just to be a little bit different, but it's not going to shock me if Dodgers and Yankees go 7. It's really not. Yeah, that's right, Julio. I forgot about that. The first rehab assignment, Josh Young, he did get hit again. That was crazy, man. I forgot all about that for a second. Absolutely. My goodness, y'all. All right. Hey, we've been going for over an hour. We are going to wrap things up on the show. By the way, real quick plug. Some of y'all know I cover pretty much everything sports. I cover college football, NFL, MLB is probably my biggest passion of the 3, but I love all sports. I cover all the teams I love from the great state of Texas. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area originally, so Rangers, Mavs are starting up here pretty soon. I'll do a little bit of Mavs coverage as well. We do, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, and we do the Texas Longhorns. So if you're a fan of college football, NFL, NBA, MLB, or any of those teams that I mentioned, come by, hang out. We talk pretty much everything big in all those sports at some point. So yes, of course, I'm going to talk about the teams that I love, but we always make room to talk about the big things happening around each of the leagues and with other teams and players too. So appreciate all of y'all that have followed. By the way, if you're not following yet, you're not subscribed yet to the account, would greatly appreciate it if you hit that follow or subscribe button. Get notified whenever we go live. I know there's a way to get that done, whatever social you're on. Stay up to date with all our latest and greatest content. Would love if you joined us this weekend for college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really appreciative of all of y'all's, the likes, the views, comments. Helps keep the show going. So thank you. Grateful for that. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday night. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.